And now I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Jean Roca. Please. Yes. Who is the Senior Vice President, Educational Consulting, Genius Plaza. And better than me, he will introduce himself and the company. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Honorable ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure indeed to welcome you all to this great international forum about education in beautiful Ghana. My name is Jean Roca. I work for Genius Plaza. Genius Plaza is a socially driven global education technology company with presence in several countries, including Ghana, Uganda, Kenya, South Africa, just to name a few. It's great to be back to Innovation Africa. We've been supporting Innovation Africa as a global sponsor for many years, and we do believe in supporting education in Africa using a culturally relevant approach. Last year, we came to Innovation Africa, which took place in Zimbabwe, with a South Florida delegation headed by Alberto Carvalho, the Miami-Dade County Public School Superintendent. Some of you might recall him. We work with the three South Florida counties, which together represent the largest public education conglomerate in the United States. They serve more than 1 million students, and they have a combined budget of more than $12 billion, equal only to New York City, which is another town that we serve as well. As a result, we invited ministers and representatives of Ministry of Education of Zimbabwe, Uganda, Nigeria to speak at the International Forum in Orlando, Florida in February 2019. Of course, the door is open for more international collaboration. Alberto could not physically join us today, but he sent a video message for you, which I would like to be played, please.
Okay.
To my brothers and sisters across the ocean all the way to Africa, greetings from Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Not only the 4th largest school district in America, but also the highest performing urban school system in the United States. Although I'm unable to join you today physically, through the power of technology and collaboration, I have the distinct pleasure of connecting and communicating with you halfway across the globe. Because being able to do this, to share ideas and engage with others in diverse communities across the world, anytime and anywhere, is not only the wave of the future, it is happening now. This idea of global collaboration, global education, connections made between nations, between educators, between young people, transcending culture, transcending tradition and language, is the fuel fire of the new power of learning. One that will break down walls and barriers, frontiers and obstacles that often separate us from them. Education is indeed the true connector. For the kids we teach today will be the businessmen of tomorrow. They will be the leaders of tomorrow. They will be the artists of tomorrow. So this idea of a global classroom, by connecting children, their teachers, classrooms themselves, and schools across zip codes, across time zones in our world, is an idea whose time has come. We also know that the world has changed. What we know today keeps expanding faster than ever before. We know that the coming together of digitization, automation, and artificial intelligence have made this vast globe much smaller, allowing us to see, learn, communicate, be inspired by people not just around the corner, but literally on the other side of our globe. Because in this new globalized economy, where knowledge is the traded commodity, individuals operating in digital deserts in silos are inherently facing an educational deficit. Global collaboration, communication, forming connections, educational connections, business connections, institutional connections, traditional and cultural as well as linguistic connections will be the currency of success for our children. That is why right here we purchased and deployed over 200,000 devices for students to access personalized, individualized, and adaptive content anytime and any place, not just during the school day or in the schoolhouse, but from their homes, connecting learning opportunities with students and nations across the globe. That is why I commend the nations of Africa for, in the post-colonial era, recognizing the beauty and the importance of one's tradition, one's culture, and one's native language or languages is so key to protecting one's tradition, one's information DNA, which is inbred in all of us. We must also equip our students with the soft skills that facilitate collaboration, interpersonal and intrapersonal skills, global skills that will allow them to exercise emotional restraint, understanding, acceptance, and the ability to work with diverse groups of people across the entire earth. As evidenced by our results on the United States Assessment of Educational Progress, the gold standard of assessment in America, our fourth graders are ranked #1 both in reading and mathematics. We're certainly moving in the right direction. And if it can happen here, if it can happen here in Miami, it can happen anywhere. Because you see, it is not the student that fails to reach the goals, it is the adults. We cannot expect to achieve transformational results and transform children's lives if we do not transform our way of thinking and our way of working. We must empower children. We must elevate their voices. We must instill upon them the belief, the skill, and the will that they can and that they, in fact, will achieve. That is how we turn the impossible into the inevitable, the challenge into progress. That is how we transform a child. That is how we transform a classroom. That is how we transform a community, an entire nation, a continent, all for the better. Thank you very much.
So very inspirational. As Alberto said, it's extremely important that our kids would feel that they are part of a globalized world. And what Genius Plaza does is helping with this global collaboration, breaking down classrooms' world and connecting classrooms around the world. Our motto is igniting the genius in each child, and especially the underserved. Wondering if... So as I mentioned, global collaboration. We offer the technology to connect classrooms around the world as a project-based learning. We actually evolved the concept of project-based learning in service-based learning. Can we give back to our communities through the work they are doing as we learn? Yes, we can. Our methodology is very, very simple. So the teachers, which is always at the center of attention, teaches the lesson the traditional ways. The kids would reflect on that, and then we'll ask them to create a spark. We call it a spark. It's a co-creation. I will give an example in a minute. So they use digital tools to reteach, so teaching by doing, and then peer review. So if you add co-creation to repetition, that's when the magic of learning happens. We want to move from passive learners to protagonists of their own learning experience. I used to be a passive learner when I was in school. We still have the blackboard, still have the desks, still have a teacher, still have a generational gap between the kids and the teachers. But we want to move from that model to something that would enable the kids to feel as protagonists of their own learning experience. So the kids would definitely feel more connected to him than to an adult. So we offered that kind of technology. These are all the digital tools that are contained in Genius Plaza that would enable the kids to create their digital portfolio. And then, of course, we offered the possibility to share it globally, which is amazing. I would like to show you how does this work in a classroom. If you can play this short video, please.
Inside Melaleuca Elementary's iLab, you'll find a live look into a classroom thousands of miles away.
Hello.
These fourth graders' newest classmates are from Zimbabwe. Through a smart board, the students can interact.
What was the role played by the army in grade language?
Quiz each other on their country's landmarks.
Which hand is the Statue of Liberty holding the torch?
We were asking them questions, and I learned a little bit about the Statue of Liberty because I didn't know that much about the Statue of Liberty.
even play games.
So then rock, paper, scissors,
And most importantly, share their cultures. This is the third time this fourth grade class at Melaleuca has video chatted with these students in Zimbabwe.
It feels amazing because you've never talked to somebody like that before. I really wish we could go there one time, like to see them in life.
Genius Plaza connects the classes to broaden students' perspectives, especially when those on the other end of the screen don't necessarily have access to the same educational tools we do.
They didn't have electricity. They used a generator to connect this morning.
Lessons that can last a lifetime.
They were able to realize that we may be different, we may be in a different area, but in actuality, we're all the same.
I'm Amy Littman for the Education Network, keeping you informed.
So we create this global connection. We want the kids to feel that they're part of the same world, and despite of the socioeconomic condition, despite of their location, it doesn't matter. But that comes with responsibility, and it comes with rights as well. Then we realize that probably we need to look a little bit back. It's not only to look at the K-12 phase, but in order to be able effective, we have to look a little bit back. And we came up with the idea of the genius village. So it takes really a community to raise a genius. We truly believe that kids born naturally smart, and then based unfortunately on the environment, or fortunately based on the environment, they change. We want to make sure that we deliver good quality education through technology directly in the hands of every single child. So we start looking at the developing of the kids from 0 to 3 years old, of course, to 3 to 5, and the 6 to 18. And the question is, how can we track and improve the health of and academic outcomes of our children from birth to high school graduation? And then we realize that we do have a problem, in fact, because health and education, which are very, very important at this phase of the developing phase of the kids, are actually working in silos. They do not talk. There is no communication between health world and the educational world. So how can we put this together in order to be able to assess potential obstacles in terms of education based on health-related issues, for example? And so we came up with the idea of the Genius Village, which basically aims to connect healthcare providers and educators to parents. And of course, this is an application that runs on your mobile phone. It's very easy, and use it in 18, even more 18 languages. And why this is important? Because we'll give you in your palm of your hand the possibility to, you as a country leader, to look at health-related results, educational results, timely, every single day. Imagine a world where parents can track the health and education of their kids. And you, again, from the back end, you have aggregated data in the palm of your hand. What you can do here, you can, of course, if there are insurance-related information, you can handle that. Submit medical excuse to schools. How many times your son or your daughter cannot go to schools? You have to prepare a form, send a form. Submit immunization record. Every time you have to enroll a kid, go to a doctor, go to a pediatrician. He has to retrieve a piece of paper from the archive, give it to you. A lot of waste of time when you can have, through technology, everything in the palm of your hand. So everything is created because we're a global company, more than 80 languages. And again, from an educational perspective, you can pick up information, submit school attendance. It's a very practical use of technology in education as well as the health world. It allows parents to connect with pediatrician prior to a visit to improve communication. For example, here you can choose directly on the palm of your hand. Just think about give to parents this opportunity, how much time they would save. And you, as a leader, to have this aggregated data in the palm of your hand. Here you can choose, what the symptoms, for example, are, and directly select it there. Arrange directly an appointment with a pediatrician. Remember, health and education in this phase of their life go hand in hand. If they have in health-related issues, that would affect dramatically their education, might affect dramatically their education level, and so on and so forth. And again, these are all screenshots, so these are already developed applications that we're currently offering to several countries. Here you can submit your immunization record, and remember, there are some videos that would enable you as a parent to look at the development phase of the kids. But remember, who owns this information is always the parents. The fact the health record, the immunization record, it's at the pediatrician office. It doesn't matter that they own that record. The fact that the grades of your kids are at the school, it doesn't matter. You own the record as a parent, and you have the responsibility of giving back the parents the authority of handling these records in the palm of their hands. For example, authorized pickup. When your parents go to school and they cannot go and pick up their kids, and there is somebody else authorized, through a simple application, you have people that you can take a picture, that you can authorize, and they can go without, and again, just push a button, they will be able to pick up your son or your daughter. You have all the grades. Again, I'm looking from a parent perspective, in the palm of their hands. They have all the analytics about their performance in school. You can track a child's progress. Again, it's more than 80 languages. Screening partners, of course, you can do some screenings, health-related screenings as well. And everything will be stored in a single repository in the application. So the Genius Village provide leaders with tools to prioritize resources on the health and educational needs of their countries. So all this huge amount of data from your perspective, again, will be in the palm of your hand. The non-identifiable data can be grouped by ethnicity, income, level, status, reason, zip code, and more, based on the leader's priority. Just think about the power that you would have just to take any device connected with the internet and see at every single point during the day what's going on in your school, what's going on in your system, what's going on in terms of health-related issues of your student population. This is called the equity dashboards. These are customized on the leader's priority or funding organization agenda. And I will mention something about funding in a second. How does this work? It's basically a student information system. And I appreciate the speaker before me that mentioned about the power of SMS, of texting. That's absolutely huge in terms of accountability and reliability of the system. But what we'll be able to do will be to track enrollment, track student attendance, track student grades, everything again in the palm of your hand, track school performance. Teachers' absenteeism, which has been mentioned even before me. So why this is important? This tool has been designed for rural areas in mind. It's online and offline solution. We've been working in Africa a long time now, and we realize that most of the areas where we are, they do not have internet connection, so you need to have offline solution. And at the country level, you as an educational leader will have a great aggregated data on your fingertips, as I said, and daily customized report. So let me give you a practical example. We are partnering with the World Bank. We have a huge education project in Uganda right now. They were able to found that project because they wanted to have data. They want to have aggregated data through a reliable, trustworthy student information system in order to be able to fund the project. When this big organization, large organization, international organization have a project in mind, they want a data first that comes from a reliable source. Key education metrics, attendance, improvement, immunization records, increased parent engagement, of course, student behavior. It's incredible what you can do with just a simple device. As long as we mentioned before, you provide proper professional development, we'll make sure that you provide accountability and reliability through a very simple system. Just giving to the end of the teacher, they will be able to transfer every single day reliable data in the palm of your hands. That is all I have. If you have any questions, I'm here available for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, time now for questions and comments. Not only questions, please stay here with us. I think it's difficult sometimes to see some parts of the room. Then if there is any question or comments. Okay, one question here, please, or comment, I don't know.
I am Professor Elizabeth Vuketama-Jong, Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of Academics, ICT University, Cameroon. I am very elated when I listen to the talk, especially your theme. The education and the genius for the undeserved. I like that word, undeserved. And then looking at Africa, we have to be very, very factual, because for us to have geniuses from the villages we are talking about, we cannot do that without looking at good governance. Because how do you have a child as a genius who is unable to have a loaf of bread a day, who goes to school hungry, who walks 2 or 3 kilometers to go to school, teachers who don't have motivation, and then you have countries with constant power failure, bad governance. Now we are talking about social, economic, political injustice. And we cannot talk of all this without looking at all this in place. So I think it's very important, because it looks so sweet, but when you get down to the reality, it doesn't work. And I think you advise us. We have our leaders here. We shouldn't deceive ourselves. For us to solve a problem, we must identify the root cause of that problem. We're talking about Africa 2063, not just magic. We have to start now. What does it take to go there? We have to look at all this. Tribalism, favoritism, corruption, and the teachers, they suffer. Because for you to have a genius, you must have a good teacher training, refresher courses, retraining, And we are so sweet, we talk about free lunch. Do those children have the free lunch? Medical care, do we have insurances? So I think this is a good place for us to reshape and rethink about most of the policies in our African country. Or else all what we are doing here, we just play to the gallery, we come, we drink our tea, we go back. So I think it is time for thinking, that critical thinking and implementation of what we are doing here, or else we'll spend thousands of miles, come and waste the money of African brains. So as we are saying, technology by Africa for Africans. And how do we do it? Taking into consideration, all this, injustice, social injustice, economic injustice, political injustice. So thank you very much. I think we should.
Thank you very much. Great question. So as I mentioned before, everything we do is culturally relevant. We have Africa in mind. We have years of experience here. And I'm going to tell you what is the social equalizer here. It's this device. This device is a social equalizer here. You mentioned injustice, you mentioned corruption. With this, we can empower directly the user. We can empower the kids. We can empower the teacher. We can empower the superintendent, the school administrator directly with this. We can bypass and go and bring directly good quality education in the hand of the user. We want it to be the Uber of education. Can we bypass all these obstacles? When Uber came up, everybody said, no, that's not impossible. In fact, in some part of the world, it doesn't work. In some other, it does. They were able to empower the user directly. Yesterday, I visited a school here in Accra, and I realized a lot of interesting things. I was talking to the principal. The principal told me, you see how the banking system, for example, changed dramatically here, using applications, dramatically changed the banking business entirely, giving the power to the user through this. Can we do this in education as well? I think we can. And where the obstacles are, we can, there we go. We can bypass the obstacles and go directly to the user. The users, as the previous speaker said, will tell me, is the teacher coming to school? The text message, yes, maybe no. So we know we start giving accountability, we start giving responsibility directly with this. This is the best equalizer. I've seen kids here with no shoes, but they had a smartphone, believe it or not. So once they have a smartphone, it doesn't have necessarily to be connected with the internet. We have offline solutions that would enable them to be empowered. That's when the beauty of learning happens, because we bypass all the obstacles that you mentioned before. Thank you so much for your question.
Thank you. One more question, please.
I'm Jane Mwesiga from Uganda, and I'm glad to hear that you are working on a project with World Bank. But my appeal is that during the design stage, you ensure that at least the Ministry of Education and Sports is involved in this, to ensure that we are addressing, the project is designed to address the real challenges that we are facing.
Sorry, I'm not sure if I understood
the last part was not very easy.
I'm saying that I come from Uganda, Ministry of Education and Sports, and he has indicated that you are working on a project with the World Bank.
Sure.
So my request is that at least the Ministry of Education and Sports should be involved right from the start to ensure that the design of the project addresses the real challenges that we are facing in Uganda.
Sure. That's a great question. Again, through technology, we go straight to the user. What does that mean? If the World Bank decide to develop a project in Uganda, for example, one portion of the project was to bring technology directly to the kids. That's what we do. If you give them, again, accountability. If 1,000 tablets are shipped, 1,000 tablets must be, delivered. Do you have accountability tools that would enable to let the World Bank and to let us know that 1,000 tablets have been delivered? If a software has been purchased, the software has to be delivered. Do we have accountability tools that would enable to let me know that, yes, I checked the box? That amount of money has been spent, that amount of money has been spent for the good of the kids. So this is what technology is about. It's about transparency. I mentioned before the example of the banking system, which entirely revolutionized sectors of our life through changing basically how we conduct our banking operations on a regular basis. We can do that in education. I'm glad to work with Uganda. We have great experience there, and we were able to deliver, again, directly in the hands of the user. That's what I hope to do, and please see me once in the hallway after this conference. I want to explain to you how we can develop this in your countries too. Don't be worried about the costs. The great thing of technology, the costs are really minimized, because once you develop it once, you can deliver literally to millions of people. So I'm really available and really glad to be here today. I really appreciate your time, and I'm proud to be here today again, to be invited to Innovation Africa again.
Thank you. No more comments or questions then I don't want to ignore any question or no for now. Then
there's a hand over there.
One hand. Oh, sorry. Please, I ask kindly people with microphones to help me with this task. It's very difficult. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm interested in the aspect of students moving from passive learners to protagonists of their own learning. How will you be able to situate that within the African context, where culture is embedded in a way that not all parents will even encourage their children to ask questions? I know of a case where a parent refused to pay fees for her child on grounds that the child was becoming too curious on certain fundamental issues. And she said the government should go and pay for the child because of the rights and other things that were being preached. So how will you also ensure that there is that engagement so the parents can understand that this is the period of learning and knowledge, and therefore they ought to also give the space to their children to ask questions?
Great questions. Thank you so much. So the first thing is looking at languages. Africa is a great continent, so rich in terms of cultures and language. Some of the languages are spoken across, boundaries in several countries as well. That's great. So what we did was to empower schools, to empower the students directly, to recreate what they learn. Let's say I learn something in English. Can I recreate in my own language? Yes, I can. How can I do it? Through a digital tool. Then I create my digital portfolio. It means that you're creating your own library of materials that you can share globally. Just think, we receive hundreds and not thousands of materials created by kids in hundreds of languages every day. We review it, the teachers approve it, we review it, you put it back in the bank. It's an open bank. So all other kids can continue to use it, and of course, has to be culturally relevant. You have to respect the culture, you have to respect the language, and then you can put it back into the bank. And in the bank, usually you do two things. You either withdraw or deposit, right? So you withdraw materials created, and you deposit new materials into the bank. That's part of the democracy of education, just sharing as much as we can. Again, be respectful of the culture, be respectful of the language. From you, as a leader perspective, what do you want to see? It's, as I said before, in the palm of your hand. You should be able to take a phone, push a button, and see exactly at that point what's going on in your country in terms of education and in terms of health. If you have these two combinations, being culturally relevant in the school, and you as a country leader, educational administrator, be able to have the pulse of the situation in your country and put this thing together, you have accomplished your goal, including attracting new funding from international organizations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Really
so
appreciate
much
the opportunity.
for
Thank you.
opportunity. Okay.